So this is a follow-up to my last video where I was saying that I wonder if China has always been being influenced by intelligence agencies. The first American tech company to collaborate with China was RCA, which was in January 1972, was contacted by the Chinese government to install a satellite communication Earth station in preparation for President Nixon's historic visit. This marked the earliest direct engagement between the People's Republic of China and a major U.S. Corporation, even before formal diplomatic relations were established. RCA's satellite communication project in '72 was a landmark in U.S.-China tech relations. It marked the first direct collaboration between a major American tech company and the Chinese government, initiated when China asked RCA to install a satellite communication Earth station in preparation for Nixon's historic visit. This project demonstrated the potential for U.S.-China technology cooperation and helped build trust, paving the way for broader trade and scientific exchanges in the years to follow. RCA's involvement signaled to other American businesses that China was open to technological partnerships, accelerating the normalization of diplomatic and commercial relationships between the two countries. The 1972 satellite communications project played a pivotal role in opening U.S.-China tech diplomacy. See, I just wonder, because they really became, after the century of humiliation and all this, these eight nation alliance, basically chopping, China up, and just, it was humiliating to them. They pushed culture on them. They pushed a whole bunch, okay? But it's like you would want to become an isolationist, but were they ever really truly independent? Because the horrific things they do to their people, and I understand that there's dictators that do horrible things to their people, but them and North Korea are so bad that it's like, no, it's just, you wouldn't want to do that to your own people, like even if you're a dictator. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think that what this country wants, because of the intelligence agencies, is they want us always to have some beef with somebody, okay? And so now all we hear about, and the politicians love to use this, okay, is that no, well, we have to think about China, because then when they have to keep us safe from China and everybody else, well, they can take more of our freedoms. Really what they rolled out in China, in 2010 with their surveillance state, was likely in the making for a long time. And I don't mean by China, I mean by whoever state. I think the influence remained. I do. Because that way it's like, or the military industrial complex, whatever, same thing really in many ways, in some ways anyhow. But then you can always keep this ongoing war going on with somebody. The next it'll be Iran, or it'll be Iran and then China. They play both sides of every war. And so, of course China doesn't have good reason to think, highly of Americans. But I think it's interesting, too, that Trump had said in his post yesterday about he has no problem with Chinese students going to college here. And, that is kind of concerning, because if the CCP calls them, they have to give over any information they know of. But maybe that's not true. Maybe really what you need to look at when it comes to the CCP is CIA. Or multiple intelligence agencies. Because it just something doesn't add up. And besides, the United States played a significant role in the development of China's surveillance state. but it is not solely responsible. U.S. technology companies supplied the hardware, software, and expertise that Chinese public security agencies used to build and expand their surveillance state. Or was it really them, or was it us and other intelligence agencies from other countries? To build and expand their surveillance infrastructure, often through legal, commercial channels, industry exhibitions, third-party companies, and local subsidiaries. American technology was valued for its advanced capabilities and compatibility, and U.S. exports included network equipment, hard drives, and other components found in Chinese surveillance systems, including those used in Xinjiang. However, China's government independently pursued mass surveillance for its own political and security goals, combining foreign technology with domestic innovation and strict state control. I mean, it could be, I think there's more to it, I really do. The CIA often engages with foreign countries. Well, that's before a president goes to visit. But I mean, when, the thinking of the Cold War, this is espionage and spying and all this covert operations to influence who was going to be, the presidents of certain countries. I mean, that stuff was all going on, not just with our country, but others too. And this was a political cartoon from 1898, and basically it's showing, it's Russia, Japan, it says down here, they're basically cutting up China. This was the 8-nation alliance. So it's China, the cake of kings and emperors, showing Queen Victoria of Britain, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, I can't see part of it, something Tsar Nicholas of Russia, Marianne of France, and Japanese samurai, dividing China up, and you could see that Mandarin reacts with horror in the background. That's really what they did. That's why China refers to it as a century of humiliation, because that's what they did. They humiliated them. And this was the eight-nation alliance. So it says, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, China was not fully colonized, but was divided into spheres of influence and foreign-controlled concessions by several major powers. The main foreign powers controlling parts of China were Great Britain. It controlled key ports like Hong Kong and had major influence in Yangtze River region. France established a presence in southern China, especially near its colony in Indochina. Germany controlled the port of Kaiyashou and had influence in the Shandong province until Japan seized it in World War I. Russia controlled areas in northern China, especially Manchuria, and built the Chinese Eastern Railway. Japan took Taiwan after the first Sino-Japanese War and later seized Manchuria and German concessions. The United States did not control territory but pushed for equal trading rights through the open door policy. Portugal controlled another area. These powers governed their concessions directly, often with their own police and laws, and imposed economic and legal privileges on Chinese soil, undermining China's sovereignty. And they, as they said, they called it the Century of Humiliation, was a period in Chinese history beginning with the First Opium War and ending in 1945 with China emerging out of the Second World War as one of the Big Four and established as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. So I find it hard to believe that, I just wonder, because especially after a century of humiliation, having your people treated so poorly by foreigners, why then would you turn around and treat your people so horribly? Well, maybe because you've always still been being controlled just behind closed doors by those very foreign influences still today.